Here we are in the studio of Mark Greenwood, although the sign on his door says, "Leave me alone." Hello, Mark Greenwood.
Hello, Frane Lesak. How are you?
We're good.
Normally I wouldn't smile when you came into my office like that because I normally would be writing, but today's a special day, right? We've got the Paperbird Live, kids and teachers out there, and so welcome to my studio. Going to give you a little bit of a tour for the next half hour about what a writer does, and kind of that's a little difficult because all the people that have been on before me have all been illustrators and they've had beautiful artworks to show you. Sometimes as a writer, maybe it's not so easy to show what we do because writing is a kind of a pretty solitary and lonely process. And I mean, I guess in this times that we all find ourselves in, where everybody's at home and a little bit isolated from friends and being able to go to bookstores and movies and all those things, maybe it's a good time to sit down and hunker down and do some writing. So although I must admit it's been a little bit hard to concentrate for me on all my writing projects. I thought, well, while I had all this time at home I could get a lot done, but I have to be very disciplined. So this is my studio, and this is where books are created, in this crazy sort of space that I've created over the years for myself to come into, to feel locked away and tucked away from reality.
From me.
From Frane and from all the other things, all the other disturbances. And so I come in here and I've kind of created this energy that's all around, and we're going to kind of have a look at some of the objects and things that are all around me today, because I think one of the things I'd like to, for all the kids listening today and watching today, is maybe that you could go away from today and write a story and be proud of the work that you create. And maybe I can give you some story starters today based on some of the crazy objects that you might find around this room. But the first thing I thought I'd do is I've got a new book that's just come out called The Book of Stone, this one here, and it's illustrated by Coral Tulloch. And sometimes when people meet authors, they don't actually know the story behind the book. They get to read the book, they see the beautiful illustrations, and they don't see this process that's going on here, the creative process where an author has ideas and then sits down, writes the stories, and then realises that they made lots of mistakes, and we do lots of self-editing before eventually it ends up going to our editor at the publishing company, and then together we sort of fine-tune things. In fact, just looking at this kind of pile here, there are a book under production, a book being researched and written, a book that's been to publishers and come back and will go back, a book that was written a while ago that now is, I'm kind of wanting to see it visually, so I've turned some of the words and had Frane done some of the illustrations to get a sense of what visually might take place in the book. And here is my favourite book. This is the book of nothing. This is the empty book. This is the book where everything starts, where ideas start from. So I guess what we want to do today is we want to fill that empty book full of ideas. So I thought just to give you a sense of why this book was created, and this book is a little bit different to all my other books because mostly I'm kind of like a little bit known as the history hunter, because I love history and I love Australian history especially. I've done a couple of books that came out in America, but most of my books are based on Australian history, and I love the idea about bringing history to life for young people so it's engaging, and they get to know the things that happened in the past, kind of like in a way that is a story, because history has the word story inside it. So why don't we tell stories about things that happened in the past? This is a little bit different because this is natural history, and where usually when I visit schools I tell kids where I get ideas from. I actually didn't know that I was making this book until the illustrator Coral Tulloch came into this room here, and she wandered around and she saw what was in the cabinets. This one here and the one behind me over here. She looked around and she saw all those crazy stones and things in there, and she said, "You know what this is, don't you?" She said, "This is a book." And I had no idea what I was collecting over all these years was eventually going to be a book. It was more like a hobby to me. I loved years ago visiting Indigenous communities and wandering around out in the outback, and occasionally I'd see a stone and pick it up and not know what it was, and I'd come back and look it up in my reference books, and I kind of became a little bit of an amateur geologist. So eventually when Coral came in and saw all the collection that I had and said, it's a book, I then had to figure out how to construct it. So, and it has many beginnings. Even going back to a long time ago to my travels in India, where I saw this beautiful leather book, and it had these beautiful stones on it. I called it the Book of Stone when I found it. And interestingly enough, I never knew what to put inside this book. All I did was write the Book of Stones. It was an idea, and the idea again was a blank book. And it's still a blank book because it was from that concept, I guess, that the Book of Stone began. Recently, this book has been on display down at the Fremantle Literature Centre, and yesterday I was able to, the exhibition was on exhibition down there, and yesterday I was able to go and pick up some of the exhibition materials and bring it back home, and they, down at the Literature Centre, look after things pretty well, so they took all my drafts, all my messy drafts, put them into a bit of an order. I don't know if they are into a bit of an order, but you can see the story had a real process. In fact, this one they've given me is called The Treasure in the Iron Box by Margaret Wilde. I knew that didn't really look like my work, but anyway, I've got Margaret Wilde's work here now too. There you go. I just found that. So, but most of this work in here is my own work, and even when Coral Tulloch was doing some of the original sketches, I guess the roughs for the book, I was going through and putting the words that I thought might go along with each of the spreads there as well. So this is the process, and the process sometimes takes a long time. Sometimes the process from making a book can take, perhaps from the time of the idea to the book, can take 4 years, 3 years or 4 years. In fact, one of my books has taken 10 years, or took 10 years to turn from an idea. That was the story of The Legend of Lassiter's Reef. It took 10 years from the time that I had the idea until the time that I actually ended up with a book in my hands. So I always say to young people, if you're going to write a story, you should find a subject that you really love, a subject that you maybe even like reading about and researching about, because part of the writing process for me is also seeing how other authors may have tackled a similar subject or a similar style. So I love, finding things that I'm really, really passionate about. So just looking over here, if we can kind of give you a sense about what Coral was thinking, I guess, when she came into the office here and she saw, let's tuck over here. We created these end papers in the book, and a lot of people think that the end papers of the Book of Stone, because they look the same, are the same, but they're really different. In fact, what the difference is not so much in the art, the difference is in the writing. So on the front end papers, most of the descriptions in the little labels are very scientific, what the stone is, where it was found, a little bit of a scientific version but when you go to the back of the book, we've got more of a kind of a metaphysical, I guess, story of the stone. And this one here, the magnetite, is all about mystics and attracting power and repelling enchantments. When the truth is, it's actually an iron oxide crystal, and it was found in Unithara in Australia. So we've had a little bit of fun making these end papers. Coral's really good at the end papers. I always think about stones as, if you're walking along a creek bed and you might bend over and reach down into the creek and find a stone, and then my idea was that it was a story stone. And what was the idea behind the stone? So I talked here about the idea about a stone is nature's gift, banded by swirls, shapes and colours, pits and patterns, polished smooth by time. And I kind of got that idea from looking at all these stones that I have sometimes in my collection, like this beautiful sandstone here, found on a beach, and you can see the patterns, the beautiful patterns that nature has made through the stone. This one here comes from a volcano in the Caribbean on a tiny little island called Montserrat. And again, you can see the volcanic patterns in this one. So as I kind of started to look through all my stones, I saw all these beautiful patterns, and I started to think that maybe, in fact, if I can enhance Frene's vision for the viewer, you can start to see some of those beautiful patterns over there, and pits and polished, smoothed by time. So patterns was an important part of the story. And then also on the second page here, the idea of a volcano, that some stones are cooked in the bubbling soup of a volcano and then poured molten upon the earth where they sit for millions of years. Now, I'm very lucky because I was actually able to visit some volcanoes, number of volcanoes, a volcano in the Caribbean island of Montserrat, where I went into the exclusion zone, which was a bit naughty, and collected some stones from there, and recently to Mount Etna in Italy. These stones here, in fact, are from Mount Etna, and you can virtually see the incredible heat that coming from the volcano that you can see in this stone here. Some of the stones, like this one here, also from Mount Etna, you can kind of see the sulphur, which is the yellow colour. And again, these ones here, this beautiful one again from that lovely island of Montserrat. In fact, some of the stones that come out of the volcanoes are called lava bombs, because when they come out, you wouldn't want to be underneath that. Very heavy. It's a bomb. It's one of those things that you see in the movies shooting out of the top of the volcano, and they're called lava bombs. This is a very small one, but they come in huge, massive sizes. So I guess, you know, visiting volcanoes was an important one. Meteorites. I love meteorites. Love meteorites. In fact, I love meteorites so much that over here on my desk, if we can go over here, I've been collecting meteorites for a long time. And these are some of my collection of meteorites. This one here is a shale ball from the second biggest meteorite crater in the world, which happens to be right here in West Australia, called Wolf Creek Crater. You're not allowed to collect these, but I was able to purchase this one from a collector. These are from all over the world. Some of them we're not even sure if they are meteorites or not. This one I'm doubtful about. One of the ways you can find out if it's a meteorite, I've got a little test here. The test for a meteorite is fairly simple. If it's a meteorite, a magnet will pick it up. Generally, that's how most of the iron meteorites will work. So these ones here are from a meteorite fall at a place called Mundrabella Station in West Australia. These ones here from Argentina, so they're from all over the world. So I love my meteorites. This one here, not actually sure about. And these ones here, still not sure about, although a little bit of magnetic to this one. But sometimes it's really hard to know whether they're actual ironstone or a meteorite. So it takes a while to be a bit of an expert on these meteorites. So as you can see, this is where the meteorite page came from a collection of my love of meteorites. Dinosaurs. Now boy, do I love dinosaurs. In fact, this page here says coiled Jurassic ammonites, dinosaurs and trilobites. And the trilobite word came from trilobites, real trilobites, like this one here. You might even be able to see its eyes if you look closely.
Mark, can you show us your dinosaur poo?
You want to see dinosaur poo? Now, is that a joke, Frenny, or not?
I thought you had some.
You think actually I have dinosaur poo? Well, I do have dinosaur poo. I don't usually show the dinosaur poo to people, but because it's the paper birdies, I will tell you that this is a giant dino turd. So we have no idea what dinosaur laid this one, but it had eaten quite well. That's all I can tell you. But there's a few, I actually have a few dino turds. I love dino turds. Yeah. Well, let's call them dinosaur poo. This is another one here. And a little tiny one over here from West Australia, this one here, from a plesiosaur, which was a dinosaur that swam in the water up near Kalbarri in West Australia. Why are you laughing, Fred?
Because Marie Whiteley said, wash your hands.
Wash your hands. I've been washing my hands a lot lately. And Marie, I will definitely wash my hands, and I encourage all the young children out there and the adults to wash their hands as much as possible. Especially if actually, every time you go to wash your hands, I want you to think from now on about coprolite, which is dinosaur poo. That's the technical term for it, and perhaps that'll make you wash your hands even more vigorously. So actually, getting back to dinosaurs, I do believe, I am told by a reliable source, that this might not look like too much to you, but it is in fact dinosaur skin. And it was gifted to me by a Navajo gentleman, Indian gentleman, at a site where dinosaurs are found, knowing how much I loved dinosaurs. And a duckbill dinosaur egg. So I love dinosaurs. In fact, I've got some things here that I'm not even sure whether they are dinosaur eggs or not. This one up here, for instance. This one up here had some sort of life in it, which you can see, but it may actually be, that's half of it, may actually be a dinosaur egg, or it may be a stromatolite. Still working this one out. So I love this idea that I can still investigate things, and you can see that I'm very passionate about it. In fact, the big one here behind me is called an ammonite. And in my story here it says, coiled Jurassic ammonites, dinosaurs and trilobites, gastropods and arthropods, fossils preserved in stone hold clues to the prehistoric past. This one weighs 24 kilos, and I ended up getting it in a place called Morocco. Frane wasn't very happy because it weighed the same amount as a suitcase. So that object there came back wrapped in clothes in one suitcase, and it's very, very heavy, so don't let it fall on your feet. No, keep your feet away. So, stone tools of evolution, axes and arrowheads, flintstones for fire, grinding stones for daily bread. I've been very interested in objects from the past for a long time. Some of them, like this one, actually started, if I can find Frane's, I'm not sure what Frane's, oh there it is. Frane's Caribbean axe head was probably one of the things that started off my interest. This is from a Caribbean island, and do you know, can you tell us the history?
It's an Arawak Indian axe head.
Arawak Indian axe head. Very cool, a museum piece because it's in such good condition. But down here I've collected things from Morocco. This is a Neolithic axe head, so it would have been a long time ago being able to use like this. So I'm really interested in axe heads and arrowheads, flintstones for fire, as you can see.
Is that what Fred Flintstone used?
Fred Flintstone used bedrock.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do you have bedrock?
I don't have any bedrock, but I have plenty of other stones like that. Stone is a rare treasure buried in sediments of mud, a gem in the gravel of an ancient river, a glint in the chamber of a secret cave. So I love gemstones, but I like gemstones before there actually are gemstones, before they're carved. So what I like is I like to get them in their natural form, so as they appear in nature. So this is my cabinet with a lot of the gemstones, like this one here, these ones here, these beautiful stones are topaz. So topaz is a gemstone. It can come in blue and all sorts of different colours. This is a clear topaz, but they're carved into gemstones as well. Fire opal, emerald. What have we got here? This is blue topaz with rutilated quartz inside, so you can see that it has some things inside it.
Are those your baby teeth down there?
These are my baby teeth when they first came out, and my mum kept them, and she put them in a jar, and I thought they were so nice I wanted to keep them for myself. So I've got two of my own baby teeth. I'm not sure if anyone does keep their own baby teeth, but I've collected my baby teeth, and I'm very proud of my baby teeth. In fact, when I was a real little baby, my baby teeth were very small, but I got bigger and my baby teeth got bigger. So yes, so I love gemstones, I love crystals, I love, this is actually emerald over here, which is emerald in its natural form, still coming out of its matrix, which is the stone that it comes in. And this is a tiny, tiny little bit of gold, which is still in its quartz rock, as the gold miners would find it. So, yeah, so I love gemstones, which is where the gemstone page came from. Crystals. Crystal is a stone of complex geometry, prisms and cubes, atoms and molecules. Let me take you to the crystal part of my room, which is over here. So I've got some crystals up here. I've got quite a good collection of crystals. There are all sorts of different ones. Australian crystals, large crystals, small crystals. These ones here are called Hermica diamonds, and they're from a tiny, or one small place in America, a little county in America called Hermica, and they're some of the clearest crystals that you can get, and they're called diamonds, but of course they're not diamonds, because if they were, we'd be very, very wealthy. And behind those crystals, you can see Ned is watching over them. So anyone who wants to come and take my crystals over here needs to face Ned Kelly to get hold of them. Over here we've got a magnetic stone. Resonate with energy and vibration, the power of attraction from pole to pole. See that little tiny stone there? Well, it's actually not a little tiny stone. Well, it is a little tiny stone. In fact, this is the actual stone that Coral based her illustration off. Trouble is, when I gave it to Coral and put it in her hand, she went, "Ooh," she said, "Ooh, that's got a strong vibration," which is the idea. I said, well, it's magnetic. And so this is where we got the idea of magnetic stones resonate with energy and vibration, the power of attraction from pole to pole. Next page is, I guess, the story of stone being travelled around the world and being looked after, picked up by people, travelled all the way around the world. And I got interested in that because I was for a long time, and still am, interested in diamonds. So I followed the stories of diamonds and how diamonds were traded around the world, and it gave me the idea, Coral and I, the idea that we could do a little bit of a idea of stones travelling, and also the fact that stones are lucky charms and amulets, and everybody, sometimes your mum wears one. Astrology and astronomy. Curious law of constellations, birthstones for each month of the year. I wonder which of you knows your birthstone? Who knows your birthstone? Franne, do you know your birthstone?
I do. It's June, and it's pearl and diamonds.
Pearl and diamonds. Of course, all around the world there are buildings made of stone. It could be the Taj Mahal, could be the pyramids in Egypt, could be the stone faces it on Easter Island. So I wanted to make sure that we knew also that stone was about miracles and wonder. And also it's a reminder of how much we love people. Who remembers a skipping stone? Stepping stone. So that's how the Book of Stone was created, really from being in this room. But around here we have stories. We have stories everywhere.
And Mark, what's this here? Can you do a paradiddle for us?
A paradiddle? You want a paradiddle?
I want a paradiddle.
Well,
I think the kids want a paradiddle.
You have to go left, right, left, sorry. Right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left.
Thank you.
What else would you like to know,
I'd like to know something about that Ned Kelly helmet there. Do you ever use that for stories?
Well, the Ned Kelly helmet, when I was writing my book on Ned Kelly and the Green Sash, one of the things that my editor, Sue Whiting, wanted to know, she said, well, if you're going to write about Ned Kelly, you have to get inside his head. And I said, how am I going to get inside Ned Kelly's head? Until eventually I purchased some replica armour and wandered around with Ned Kelly's armour on, getting inside his head, and that's how eventually the book was written in Ned Kelly from his point of view. So yeah, I sometimes walk around with armour, but I am a bit crazy with the armour. But all around here we've got all sorts of objects.
What about these funny crystal teeth here? Is there?
Well, this was
teeth,
this was owned by a princess in Urian. Something amazing happened to that princess, but I guess that's up to the storytellers out there. Of course, we've got the handcuffs. Something strange about these handcuffs. They're very small. Maybe a child was kept in them in the convict days.
Did you ever write a book about that?
No, I'm waiting for someone else to write a story about that.
That was Moondine Joe.
Well, Moondine Joe, he was too big for those. Maybe it was a person who was with Moondine Joe. But what else have we got? We've got the Tassie tiger. That object became my book called The Last Tiger. I love photos sometimes. I see photos and I wonder, who is that guy? I know who he is. He's Russian Jack. And he's an incredible, very tall Russian man who, during the gold rush, saw all the gold fellas going to the mines and saw them so sick, so he put them onto his barrow and he wheeled them and saved a lot of lives. So,
What are these round balls on your desk here?
which ones?
These.
Whew, a cannonball. A cannonball from... Who doesn't have a cannonball on their desk? I mean, everybody surely has a cannonball.
You have more than one.
I have more than one. This is a Sioux arrowhead, axe head, and at the Battle of Little Bighorn, I can imagine that they were putting up their teepees with putting the splints in the ground with. That's for telling the future, so I know what's going to happen tomorrow. Well, actually, oh yeah, it's looking pretty good. Yeah, looking pretty good. So tomorrow's looking pretty good, especially if you're going to be writing stories. What else have we got around here for story writers? Whatever you do, Freno, don't touch that. No, I said don't touch it. You don't know what happens when you touch that. I mean, I've been writing a story about that. This is what happens when you touch that. You end up very, very sick. Don't touch that. It says you can get foul-smelling scabs. You don't want to touch that. So if I was you, I'd go wash your hands very, very carefully now. So, stories around everywhere. This box here, I'd love to show you what's inside the box, but clearly it says keep the lid closed.
That's another day for another story. Now, Mark, who's on tomorrow?
Apparently Kelly Canby's on tomorrow, and that's fantastic. She's an incredible illustrator. All the books of the authors and illustrators that you've met through the Paperbirdie online Insta are available at Paperbird Books, and they can deliver books to your home. They're doing an incredible service while we're all stuck at home. So if you need a book and you want to read a book, because as you can see, I love books. My room is surrounded by books, so without books I wouldn't be a writer. And I love reading, and we've got this time now to do a little bit of reading. So please look after Paperbird Books, look after that fantastic local business. Support your local businesses, of course. But yeah, tune in tomorrow. Kelly Canby, what an incredible illustrator she is. I think last year she won a few amazing awards, including the West Australian Premier's Award for her book Rodney. So please tune in tomorrow. And if anyone's got any questions, they can reach me through my website, which is markgreenwood.com.au. And I hope that I might be seeing you all very soon, not in our lock away, but out there in the real world. So thank you very much. Bye.